Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about the medical legal issues. The medical legal issues simply means the place where the medical field and the law interact. These are some of the areas where you can be sued or you can sue somebody. So this video is for anybody working in the healthcare facility, be it a doctor, a nurse, a nutritionist, a lab tech, or anybody working in the healthcare facility, and also to the general public, because here is how you can sue somebody, or these are the charges you can sue somebody in case they don't serve you the way you wanted. So welcome, feel free and stick to the end.
I be so sick of you niggas, y'all contradict me. I be so bold myself when you come and fuck me. I feel so ordinary except when you around me. Treat me like water while you wear me out. Arguments, you air me out. Tripping about you.
Welcome again. My name is Maxwell Wabwire. I am a BSN registered nurse living and practicing in Kenya. If you're new to my channel, in my channel I usually talk about stuff related to nursing, healthcare, mental health, and many more things. So consider subscribing, because this is a platform where we can make connection, you can gain knowledge, and you can also gain an experience, as I share my experience of being a nurse and everything I know with you. So welcome, subscribe, like, share, comment, and let's go. So number one, we have negligence or malpractice. This is defined by law as failure of a professional person to act in prevailing professional standards, or failure to foresee the consequences of their actions. Negligence is often seen as unintentional, and malpractice is often seen as intentional. So in what areas or in what circumstances can you be charged with the two? Number one, in medication errors, when you give the wrong medication, the wrong dosages, when you don't put into consideration the drug-to-drug interactions, when you don't consider the patient allergies before administering a medication to the extent that it affects the patient, you will be charged with malpractice. Also, when you fail to monitor your patient to the extent that they develop pressure ulcers or pressure sores, when a patient gets injuries or accidents or a fall while in your facility, or when you understaff your facility to the extent that it affects the quality of healthcare provided, you will be charged with malpractice. Another area is on surgical procedures. This is where you perform the wrong procedure to the wrong patient, you perform a procedure to the wrong organ, and in case you leave surgical instruments inside the body of a patient, you will be charged. Also, we have documentation errors. This is where you don't document, or improper documentation to the extent that it affects the continuity of care. For example, when you have a patient who is diabetic, you have taken the RBS or the FBS and you have administered insulin to this patient, but you have not documented. So when you hand over this patient to another staff, the staff will not know if you have given that medication to the patient. So the staff might consider giving again insulin to that patient, and this might lead to hypoglycemia, and the patient might complicate and die due to improper documentation. Another area is when you perform a procedure that is not in your scope of practice. This is where you find a nutritionist giving injections and medications, or you find a clinical officer in the labor ward, or you find a nurse performing a surgery. You will be charged for negligence and malpractice in case you are found doing procedures that are out of scope. Another practice that is common in the private facilities is when a patient comes to your clinic or hospital, first thing you ask is money. The first thing you ask from them is money before giving them the services. When this patient dies or complicates because of you not giving them the services, you will be liable for malpractice and negligence. There is nowhere in the curriculum or in school where you are told that before you give a patient service, before you offer your services, a patient must give you money. So You must know that in case this patient takes you to court, you will be liable and you will be charged and be fined because of your negligence and malpractice. Number 2, we have patient confidentiality. This means confidentiality refers to the protection and privacy of sensitive information shared between individuals. A nurse is obligated to maintain confidentiality of the patient's records, the patient's information. Anything regarding the patient should be confidential. Nobody should come to the hospital and ask you for information about the patient and to give them the information without informing the patient, without a consent or asking from the patient themselves. Be it a police, a chief, or a government official, no one is allowed to get the patient information, the medical records, the medical history, and anything regarding the patient without the patient consent or the patient agreeing to that. Failure to that will be liable for breaching the patient confidentiality. We also have people who gossip about a client. So when you go and sit down and start discussing a patient with other colleagues, you discuss their condition in a way that is not therapeutic, in a way that is not helping. You can also find that there is a patient who has come to your clinic or in your facility or in the hospital where you are working, and this patient is your neighbor back at home. So when you go and discuss their condition, their diseases with your wife or with your neighbors or church mates or village mates, you will be liable for breaching confidentiality. Even if you go to a burial and they are saying that the patient died of malaria, and deep down in your heart you know that the patient died of kwashiorkor, you should not mention anything regarding the health of a patient to anyone. You should not mention that, oh no, I know this more than you know, or I know this person died of kwashiorkor. You should not mention that anywhere. Next, we have defamation of character. Defamation refers to making false statements about a person that harm their reputation. It involves spreading false information that can damage a person's character, integrity, or professional standing. So you have had a disagreement with your colleagues or with your supervisor, then you go ahead and post their photos or their pics in the social media. You post about negative things about them in social media. You will be charged with defamation. Regardless that you feel that it is true, but you are not allowed to post their photos on social media or talk negative about them on social media, or you can go ahead and tell people about it is not a must on social media, or you can go around telling people about negative stuff regarding your supervisor or your colleague. Or sometimes you post your patients or your colleagues on social media making fun of them without their consent. You will be charged with defamation of character. So you should never post the photos of your clients on social media unless you have consent, unless you have consented or they have allowed you to post them. Never ever post a photo or talk negative about anybody on social media. You should know the right procedure. If you have a disagreement with someone, you should know the right procedure and the right process of seeking justice or seeking reconciliation. Number 4, we have battery. Battery in legal terms refers to the intentional and unlawful physical contact with another person without their consent. It involves harmful or offensive touching that causes injury or discomfort to the victim. Battery is a form of personal injury and is considered a criminal offense. So under what circumstances can you be charged with battery? Number 1, performing procedures without the consent of a patient. These are people who take a patient to theater without informing the patient about the procedure and without the patient agreeing to be performed that procedure. The patient can sue you for battery. Also, administering medication to a patient without telling them the benefits of the medication, the risks associated with the medication, and the alternative medications available. You can be charged with battery. Patients have a right to deny help and also have a right to deny physical interaction. Touching a patient in any part of the body in a way that it leads to discomfort or without consent, you will be liable for battery. So before performing anything or doing anything to the patient, you must always seek consent. Even if you have a patient that has a problem in the mammary glands, you can't just go ahead and start touching the patient. And this does not only involve the private parts. Touching any part of the body by which the patient does not feel comfortable you touching them, you will be liable for battery. Another case is when you find a patient is on a wheelchair and you start just pushing them around. You take them up, you take them down. You can be charged with physical harassment. You don't tell them where you're going, you just take them without informing them. Just come, let's go. Take them wherever you want without their consent. Also, we are physical restraining a patient without justification. This patient has not paid a certain bill, so you want to restrain them to a certain room. You close the door, you restrain them physically. You lock them in a certain room. Another patient comes to the hospital, the patient does not want to be treated in your facility, but because the relatives have told you that they want that patient to be treated there, so you tie the patient using ropes on the bed. You will be charged with battery. Okay, number 5, we have mandatory reporting. It is your moral obligation and duty to report abuse, neglect, epidemics and any other communicable disease you find in your area. When it's a new disease and this disease is highly infectious and you don't report it, you can be charged in a court of law. Also, if you meet a child, this child has been neglected, this child is being abused, this child is being sodomized, or this child is being defiled, it is your duty to report to the police or to report to the children department. Failure to report, you will be charged in a court of law, even if the relatives or the caretakers or anybody accompanying the patient does not agree with you reporting. You should know that it is your duty to report such cases to the relevant authorities. And you are obligated, you must report. Failure to report, you will be charged in a court of law. If you find your fellow healthcare worker performing unsafe or illegal procedures, you are obligated to report that person to the relevant authority. Failure to report them, you will be charged in a court of law, or if the person is found guilty, or one day the person is caught and you have been working with that person in that facility for a long time, you will also be charged for not reporting that person to the relevant authorities. Even if you don't perform them, but you have seen that he or she is performing them, or you see this person is performing abortions, is abusing drugs in the healthcare facility, you must report that person, or else you can be liable in a court of law. Number 6, we have impropriety. You are obligated to conduct yourself in a professional way, be it off duty or on duty. So if you go to a bar and you fight in a bar, you can be charged with the impropriety because you have discredited or ashamed the nursing profession. So anywhere, be it in the hospital or outside the hospital, you are obligated to conduct yourself professionally in anything you do. You are a profession and you should maintain that professionalism. When you are found that you are engaging in sexual relationships with your clients, you will be charged with impropriety because you are undermining the nursing profession and you are also undermining trust. Nurses are required to maintain a therapeutic relationship with the client. Nurse relationships should always be professional. So in any case you are found that you are engaging in romantic or sexual relationships with your colleagues, with your clients, you will be charged in a court of law for impropriety. Lastly, we have misconduct. This one now cuts across all professions, not only those working in the healthcare facilities, be it teachers, engineers, office workers, and anybody. So misconduct is where you steal hospital properties, you come to work late, you come to work when drunk, when you don't respect your other colleagues, you fight with them, when you engage in fraud or forgery, when you use abusive language, and when you intentionally administer wrong medication to a client.